everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I have my January book haul and wrap up. So one thing I'm trying to do this year is keep my book hauls down to about one book hauled for every 2 books read. I do have a very small haul for today. These books are not really going to be counted in that rule, only because they're almost all presents for my birthday. So I am going to haul them, but I'm not counting it against my tally because I didn't technically purchase them. So I'm going to use that as a little bit of a loophole. But I do have 4 books to show you guys for the haul, and then we will get into the wrap up. So the first one I have here, I'm actually not entirely too sure if I should count it for my rules or not. I will actually let you guys decide. Just let me know down below if it should be counted against me or not, because this is the November Illumicrate book. November, because they were having issues apparently with shipping stuff out from their US warehouses, because now they have a base in the US for their actual Illumicrate books. This book is so shiny. It's so pretty. It's something I definitely want to read. It's The Luminaries by Susan Dennard, but it came in January, and we still don't have December's one either. So this is something that technically would have been on my TBR already at the end of 2022 instead of being put on in January. It is something I can count against myself if we want to, because I did technically purchase it, you know, last year. But yeah, it's a very, very pretty book. I don't know too much about it. It says the forest is dangerous for a luminary untrained. It is supposed to be some sort of like spooky forest vibes. I'm very excited for it. We do have gorgeous end papers, and I think under the dust jacket as well. Yeah, I like the fact that this looks like it could be like a book somewhere, like one of those like fancy books, because it says Nightmare Compendium. But yeah, I'm very excited for this one. Not so excited it took forever to get here, and so just let me know, like I said down below, whether I should count this as part of my 2023 like challenge thing that I'm doing for hauling books, or if we should just sort of skip it this month. Now we're getting into presents. So the first one that I have here is Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins. This was a present from Jess, so thank you so much, Jess. This is a book that I have been meaning to read for a while. It originally, I think, was titled Royals and had a different cover, and I wasn't too into that cover, but I really, really like the change they did when the second book came out in hardcover, when this book came out in paperback. I don't remember too much about it, but it is YA romance, I'm pretty sure, with some royalty stuff. I know book 2, I believe, is sapphic, and so I'm just very excited to have my hands on it, so thank you so much. The next one I have here is In Between by M.J. James. This technically wasn't a birthday present, but it did come in January. I am so excited to have this, because this is one of the books that is like kicking off the 23 indie books in 2023. This is the author who decided to make that challenge for this year that I am super excited about, and this was one of the books that I was like, I need to read that one. I actually have it on ebook, but they decided to send a signed copy my way, and I'm just like so excited. Can you even see? Probably not. It's there. So excited to read this. I don't know too much about this either, because I'd like to go into my books semi-blind, but it is going to be a fantasy following a mother main character who has autism. Like, I'm just so into it for the representation as well. Yeah, I'm so ready for this that, yeah, I can't believe I have a physical copy in my hands, so thank you so much. And then actually, speaking of MJ, and actually Lana from Lore and Lullabies, I have 2 copies of The Darkness Outside Us. Somehow Amazon got it all mixed up, because Lana lives in Australia, and it didn't even come with the note that she sent me. So I have 1 copy from her for Christmas / my birthday, and 1 copy from MJ for my birthday. This is something that I desperately want to read. I have heard it compared to Winter's Orbit in the fact that, like, they're both sci-fi, they're both male romance stuff in it, and the vibes, I guess, are very similar. Like, if you like Winter's Orbit, you should like this. If you like this, you should like Winter's Orbit. I absolutely loved Winter's Orbit. It was my favorite book of last year, and so I'm very excited to have these. The only thing is I only need 1 copy, so if either of you guys Lana or MJ would like to suggest maybe a different book, I will probably end up picking up just another one to sort of replace the extra copy, so that, you know, technically it's still a present. Just let me know something that I should pick up, but I'm very excited to have this as well because I've heard amazing things. So like I said, that is the whole book haul. Very quick, very easy, mostly presents plus a late Illumicrate. So I'm not really counting anything against my totals currently. We'll see how all that adds up next month, and I'll let you know how I did with my reading in just a second. I did want to say that at the beginning of 2023, I started off with 705 books. I ended up reading the ones that I read, hauling the ones that I just hauled, and unhauling one. So I'm currently sitting at 700 total for my TBR, which is great. So the TBR is going down, hopefully goes down even more. And I think that's going to be it for the haul portion. So we are going to jump into my stats and all the books that I read in January. Okay, so going into stats, I actually read a total of 11 books in January for a total of 3,479 pages. I don't think I've hit 3,000 pages in a little while, and so I'm very excited about that fact. I'm hoping I can keep the momentum up throughout the year because I have some big plans for certain things that I'm doing. For the reading method, or like what I read them as, I did read 6 physical books and 5 ebooks. For the genre, this was a little bit all over the place. I had 3 paranormal, 3 fantasy, 2 romance, 2 horror, and 1 science fiction. For the book format, I had 9 novels and 2 graphic novels. For whether the book was indie published or traditionally published, I read 8 traditionally published books and 3 indie books. One of those books was an ARC, but 10 of them were books that I had already previously owned on my TBR, which that's what I'm going for. For the age ranges, I had 1 middle grade, 1 young adult, 1 new adult, and 8 adult titles. And then I'm going to go into the star rating because that's what we're going to be talking about next. This was all over the place. Literally as many things as you could think of, that's what I had. I had 1 DNF, 3 2 stars, 1 2.5 star, 1 3 star, 2 3.5 stars, 1 4 star, 1 4.5 star, and 1 5-star read. Literally, I ran the gamut. I had a 5-star, I had a DNF, I had every single number in between, except for 1.5, and that's just because I don't rate books 1.5. 1s are like I DNF'd it, and 2s are like I hated it. So like that's where we had my numbers. Which means, because I now have stats for average rating, my average rating so far this year, so in January, was just a 3. A 3. My reading was not that great, in my opinion. I feel like I had a lot more lower ratings than I did higher ratings, and we're going to be going through those. I am going to be starting with the lowest book that I rated and going up to my favorite book of the month. So we're going to be starting with my DNF. My DNF was Damaged by Becca Vincenza. This was a book that actually was on my TBR from my TBR game, from a card that was like an unhaul, like a book that I thought I was going to unhaul. Part of the reason I picked this one is that my knowledge of it was from an older cover that looked dark romance. I did not know anything else about it. It ended up being more paranormal romance, but it didn't actually have like any basis for romance from what I saw before I DNF'd it. I got 64 pages into this one and I was bored. Basically what I got through was our main female character being, I guess, apparently a prisoner or something for like over 4 years. She had never seen anybody or touched anybody or anything like that. And then these like group of guys come in and save her, and everything is just so mysterious. Like she's not talking or thinking exactly about what happened. It's all very like roundabout, circumvented like stuff. And then the guys are all some sort of like paranormal. Like I know somebody is supposed to be some sort of a werewolf. I think there's like a vampire. I don't know, but our like main guy point of view that we got, he won't talk about what he is. It's probably going to be a reveal down through the book somewhere. But everything was just like about her being a prisoner, and like I have no idea about this world. I have no idea about why they went to go save her. Like I just couldn't care any less about it. And it wasn't necessarily that it was bad, but it was boring. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna DNF it. I thought I was gonna unhaul it or anything anyway, so I just didn't continue. Moving into the 2 stars, this is the biggest number that I have. Presley's jumping over there. The first one I have here is the Autumnlands Volume 1, Tooth and Claw by Kurt Busiek. This was a book that I received last year in a Humble Bundle. So I got a Humble Bundle that was like the Best of Image comics, I'm pretty sure it was, from like the 2010s. And I was curious enough about this one. The cover is semi-interesting. It's a fantasy with animals. The thing is, I have no idea what's going on. The closest I can get to is that there's magic in this world of these animals. The magic is fading a little bit, and they decide they want the champion, the person who originally gave them magic, to come back and save them. But then it's not what they expect, and I don't actually know anything else about this world, really, besides that. Like, I did not care about any of the characters. I don't know where things are going. It did sort of end on a cliffhanger, but I'm not intrigued enough to continue. We do have lots of different animals. We did have a sapphic romance between like a warthog and a giraffe. Like, it's interesting in the fact that we have so many animals, but like, one thing that is like a big pet peeve of mine is when they're anthropomorphized enough that they seem like an animal head on a human body, because they look like animals, except if you're a female animal, guess what? You have big boobs. Like human boobs. Not animal boobs, human boobs. And so yeah, I just did not feel like that was necessary either. I didn't care about this story. That's what gave it a 2-star though. The fact that like literally they were like, here's a dog. Let's show her getting out of bed with huge, huge human boobs for no reason. Like, she doesn't have puppies. No reason. So yeah, did not care for that. The next 2-star I have here is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I'm not going to go into the Stephen King stuff too much because of the fact that I am doing a vlog series on this right now, and I'm just not finished enough to put it out quite yet. I did not like this one. It was way too long. It is about vampires, but I was expecting more from it, and I did not get more. It felt a little bit too much like about the town than about vampires, and I just really wished it was over, and so 2 stars. And then my last 2-star was actually my very first read of the year. It is Resolutions by Lucy Eden. This is a romance novella about New Year's resolutions, New Year's goals, that kind of stuff. My biggest issue with this is that it's not a romance in the fact that like we get to experience the characters coming together and everything like that. No, these are characters who had been friends for a while. I think our female character really is in love with the guy character, but he has a girlfriend. And then all of a sudden he invites her to his family's cabin or something for the new year and is coming on to her, and she's confused as to why he would do this. Because he has a girlfriend, there's no way he can like her, but he had like broken up with his girlfriend, and then they're in a relationship, and this is like early in the story. I'm not even like really spoiling anything, and I just did not feel the connection that we should have felt because of the fact that it's only like 100 and something pages, maybe 200 at the most. I don't even think so. I think it's like 100 and something, and so I'm just at the point where I was like, I read through it to finish it, but I wasn't connected to any of the characters, and it really just wasn't what I was looking for romance-wise. Like, I really wish there would have been a build-up and not just like a cut to like we're in a relationship sort of thing. Moving into my 2.5 star, I did talk about this in a vlog, so I'll leave that down below as well. But I have Dust and Grim by Chuck Wendig. This is a middle grade book by a typically adult author, and I feel like that was where it let me down, because I did give this 2.5 stars. It wasn't something that I hated, because there were some times that I giggled and stuff, but it was not good enough for a 3 either. This is about a girl named Molly Grimm, who her father has died, and she shows up on her brother Dustin's doorstep, because his mother had also previously died. Like, they're siblings. They have the exact same parents, but somehow he was with his mother, she was with her father. Both of the parents have now died. They didn't even know about each other. She shows up wanting half of the money. The concept of that is very, I don't know, adult almost. The fact that she's trying to like swindle her brother out of money. She eventually finds out that they run a mortuary for monsters and things happen from there. But the writing style still felt very much for adults. Like, it's sort of trying to be tongue-in-cheek, trying to be middle grade, but a lot of the jokes were for adults. Like, there's a whole joke in here about, I think, a vampire running a farm-to-table restaurant. Like, do kids actually know what that is? I don't know. There was a couple parts where I thought it was going to get good with the actual paranormal monstery elements, but then it just fell flat, and the reason why the kids were separated their entire lives also didn't make sense to me. Like, there was just nothing really good enough to redeem this. The thing is, I really liked the adult stuff of Chuck Wendig's that I've read before. Like, I have given some of his books 5 stars, so I think maybe middle grade is just not the age group he should be writing for. Okay, moving into my 3-star, I have Carrie by Stephen King. This is actually a reread. I gave it a 3-star previously, a few years ago, because I actually don't know when I last read this. I gave it a 3-star again. There is something good about this in the way that it sort of sets up what Carrie is, but I don't personally like the fact that it jumps back and forth between the actual, like, present day elements for Carrie versus the, like, in the future. So I guess the past elements for Carrie and then the current present day elements of like book excerpts and court documents and stuff like that that sort of show you what's gonna happen. Like, you know who's gonna die before it actually happens because of the way that the story is written. I think the movies are much better. And so, yeah, middle of the road. I understand why people love it, but it's not like my favorite Stephen King. Moving into my 3.5 stars, the first one I have here is The Death of Honor by Lyra Thorson. This actually does fulfill the buzzword prompt as well, which was to read a book with either life or death in the title. I got death, which I'm very proud about because I don't think I did buzzword last year at all. This one I thought was going very, very well, and it just sort of fell flat a little bit for me. I was hoping for more. This is another one that I talked about in a vlog, the same vlog as Dust and Grim, just so you know, and so I probably have a little bit more to talk about there. But this follows 2 main characters who are in their 30s, and they've been on the run from the, like, land that they're from. It's in space, so the kingdom, I don't actually know. The area that they've been from, they've been on the run for a while, I guess because of some mission gone wrong a few years ago. They are now tasked with a new mission of trying to figure out if somebody specifically, like somebody that they used to know, is in charge of like human experimentation in a different kingdom, because that's not good. The thing is about this one, everybody has secrets, and she's okay. She's just loud. Everybody has secrets, and the thing about this one is because we have 2 different points of view, they have secrets from each other, but they're also keeping it from us. So it was very, very hard to sort of figure out exactly what was going on with this one, or like what happened in their past, because like she has secrets from him, but because he's not supposed to know, we're also not supposed to know, and then vice versa. Like, it was just very hard to keep together, especially near the end of the volume. I was hoping to know more. And then they did eventually tell us a little bit about what had happened in the past, like why he got his eye patch and that kind of thing. And I was just actually wishing we had that one in the book. Like, I was wanting that, because that sounded much more action-y and like plot driven. And this one really wasn't, and so it just fell a little bit flat for me. This is the first book in a trilogy, I want to say, so I might continue with it. I'm just not entirely sure yet. But the cover's gorgeous, and like there was some really good parts of it. I was just hoping for more. And then my second 3.5 star was actually an arc. It was an arc for Midnight Duet by Jen Comfort. This one came out on January 10th, and again, like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars. This is an adult romance that is a gender-bent retelling sort of thing of Phantom of the Opera. Now, I will say, the Phantom of the Opera elements I absolutely loved. Not only does it have Phantom of the Opera retelling elements, our main character in this used to be on Broadway, and so it has a lot of like Broadway geek theater nerd, that kind of stuff, like woven into the story, and I absolutely loved that. However, the romance aspect of it, it's first and foremost based on lust and sex, and it was weird in a way of like how they introduced so much of it. Like, some people are gonna love that aspect of it. I didn't, because I was really expecting romance from this. It was built on a sexual relationship, and a hidden sexual relationship at that. And then by the time we actually get to the romance part, we go straight from we had sex to I love you. There was no actual feeling build up, in my opinion. Like, I didn't get to see it. So that for me is a demerit. Like, I really liked the aspect of the musical theater, Phantom of the Opera stuff, but the romance fell flat for me. Moving into my 4-star, I read Man-Eaters Volume 1 by Chelsea Kane. This is another graphic novel, or actually comic bind-up I should say, that I got in the Humble Bundle that was like the best of Image from 2010s. So while Autumnlands was a 2, this was a 4. It actually probably would have been higher, except for the fact that in this volume we have the first 4 issues of the comics, and the first 3 issues are actually issues of the comics. The 4th issue is a like in-world magazine, and so it didn't push the story further, and because of that it felt a little abruptly ended at issue 3. Like, I was expecting more, but actually it was just sort of filler stuff. But this whole series is about teenage girls who, because of something going on, either from the water or the environment, I don't know what it is, they have evolved to, when they start to hit puberty, they turn into big cats, like panthers, and they will go on a killing spree or a hunting spree if certain things happen. And I'm just so curious about this one. Like, I really liked the first 3 issues because it was delving into like misogyny and the differences between girls and boys, and it had these like really satirical and like tongue-in-cheek like ads for the magazine. So like, I understand why they put that like 4th issue magazine thing in, but it just slowed the momentum down a little bit. But I really enjoyed what I first read of it, and so I definitely need to continue in this series, because I mean, like, girls hitting puberty and turning into jungle cats to like get revenge on boys, like, it just sounds so intriguing. Moving into my 4.5 star, this is another reread. I read The Shining by Stephen King. I think originally I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and this was before I was doing half stars, and so it's not a full 5, because there are instances in here of language usage, the N-word, that kind of stuff, where I just did not feel it was needed. Granted, this was written and published in the 70s, where you seem to see that a whole lot more than is comfortable, you know what I mean? But it also had some parts at the very beginning of the story that were just very, very slow, and I didn't think built up to the actual like horror or suspense elements that this book really has. I will say, for this one, like the opposite of Carrie, the book is so much better than the movie. I still like the movie as well, but the way that this ends is just so much better. Like, it's so much more satisfying. I really, really liked this one, and again, it had been a few years since I read it, so it surprised me exactly how much I liked it. So yeah, 4.5 stars. And then finally, moving into my favorite book of the month, the only 5-star I gave out in January, we have Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. This is a book that I got, I think, in an Illumicrate a couple years ago. Wow, has it been a couple years already? This one I've not exactly been putting off, but it ended up being put off. I absolutely love this one. It is like a retelling of, what one is it? The Goose Girl. Sorry, I have the author's note in there as well. It's a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I don't even know if I've read the original, but I absolutely love this one. It took me a few days to read, but it's such a good story, like, based on the fact that we have the characters that are very gray. Like, there's not like, these are good characters, these are bad characters. There are some bad characters where you know that they're bad, but like, in general, our main character is a thief. She has stolen the princess's life so that she can live in the castle with these magical pearls instead of being the handmaiden, that kind of stuff. And I just absolutely loved the way that this went about those characters and trying to see the relationships between them. We also do have some mysterious elements and like people trying to figure out exactly what's going on. There's also a curse put on our main character, so like she has a time limit to trying to figure out how to prove one thing versus another. I just really liked this one, and like I said, it took me a little while to read, probably because it is over 500 pages, but it's such a good book. I did actually show you underneath the dust jacket. I was gonna say the author herself actually did the illustrations on the naked hardcover, and this one finished like it could have been a standalone. Like, this is a whole story. I technically don't need any more, but apparently there's going to be more. There's a sequel planned for later this year, and I'm just like so curious how that's gonna work out now, because of the fact that like this was so good by itself. You don't necessarily need more, but like I need to know now. I need to know, where else are we taking these characters? Because I absolutely loved this one. Okay, and so that was everything for my wrap up. Now, I'm going to say I'm not counting any rereads in how I'm doing my books hauled. So if I'm not counting any rereads for this month, I have read 9 books that count toward me being able to buy things, which means technically I can buy 4.5, or like once I read a book in February, I can buy 5 books. I'm not counting any of the books that I just hauled unless we collectively decide I probably should count the Illumicrate one anyway, but like, it was supposed to be here in November, guys. It was supposed to be here in November. So yeah, that means I have at least 4 books that I'm allowed to buy in February, which is very exciting so far, keeping to like what I said I was gonna do. And I think that's going to be it for now. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye! Bye.